I wanted to talk to everyone today about getting involved in your analytics. And I actually had a nice benefit that I think no one else here had, and that's that I got to look through the list of everyone who's coming, as well as what everyone's talking about. So I got to kind of shape things based on where I saw holes to make sure it would have the most benefit for all of you. So I'm hoping I got this right. We'll see how it goes. Actually, real quick, I have to say this because I've never gotten to before. My mom came out to hear me speak. So hi, Mom. Couldn't help it. So again, I'm Rachael Gerson. I do lead the Analytics division here. I get to work with some amazing people in this awesome office. Thank you all for coming out to it. This is an event we've been talking about and planning for a very long time, so it's awesome to see it happen and see all of you here for it. My organization I just wanted to mention briefly was Laurel House, so again, thank you all for the contributions that you made to help them. It's a domestic violence agency in Montgomery County. It helps women and children get out of situations that they need to get out of. So this is making a difference to help them too. I like talking about links. I share a ton of links and resources, so I'm giving you everything at the end. Don't worry about jotting it all down because all of it's at the end for you. So I was saying, I looked at who's coming and who's here, and I saw a very nice split between the marketers and the analysts. So let me see how I actually did in my analysis. Who are our marketers here? Okay. And our analysts? That's about what I thought. Awesome. So for the analysts, I think these guys are here for you, and I'm going to talk to you as well, but my presentation's more for the marketers. And there's a reason for that, and that's that as marketers, there's a lot that everyone needs to do, needs to get done to drive the traffic, to get the business, to make everything happen. And you know that analytics matters. You know how important it is. I mean, is anyone going to disagree that we should analyze our data? Like, no one's going to disagree with that. It's a matter of time and what you're able to do. So as marketers, we're all in the same boat. We know the promise of what data can do. We know that there's huge things that we can reap from analyzing our data and getting more out of it. We would love to know everything that's happening on the site. Again, we want to make our data-driven decisions. But we have a couple big problems. The biggest problem that I usually hear is time. No one has enough time to do all the things that they want to do. And when it comes down to it, unfortunately, analytics is one of the things that gets bumped. The second problem is knowledge. Now, I think a lot of the analytics tools that are out there are actually really intuitive, that anyone who can take the time, I know going back to the first part, that's the problem, can really understand it and get a lot of things out of it. Even saying that, like some of our most intuitive tools, like Google Analytics is so intuitive, but there are new tools for it every single week that like you have to keep up with it and keep adding on. So there are two different things we have to overcome. So my goal for today is to help all of you start analyzing your data in as little time as possible. I'm trying to give you things that you can take home today, set up, let it go, and just come back every so often when you have time to. So I have a bunch of different actions that we're going to talk through. Now, action one is setting our key performance indicators and our goals. So I'm actually not going to talk through this one. I think this is hugely important, but Tim's over here, and he's going to drive that home for 34 minutes. So I'll let him handle that. But again, you want to figure out what matters most on the site, set up the goals for what's going to happen and what you want to happen, and apply that to everything else that you're looking at. Action two, we want to cover the basic GA needs. I'm not going to go through this in detail. Like, this is stuff that needs to get done, but this is not fun. It's not exciting. This is just like, get it done so you can move on and do everything else that's good. So these are things like creating profiles, setting up filters to exclude your own traffic so you're not skewing the data for yourself or for your clients, setting up the goals that we talked about as our KPIs, or a code setup and customization. Make sure someone's doing it. It doesn't have to be you. Get it done and move on. Action three is create custom reports. Now, I say custom reports, but it doesn't have to be custom. It has to be what you need. So within Google Analytics, using that as our example here, I keep looking at Justin for that. We have a lot of reports that are there as a default, and they're there for every single person who uses GA. It's not created for you based on your site, but it works for a lot of people as a quick thing to get into. What's nice is that we can do a few things. One is we can create a brand new report entirely from scratch with only the metrics that matter to you, Or we can take those existing reports and make little tiny tweaks to get what we actually want out of it. So if anyone hasn't seen this, at the top we have that Customize button that you'll see in a lot of the reports. Click that, it gives you the entire layout that Google Analytics already built, and then you can take things out, add things in, make it the report that you actually need. Once you have your report set up, next step is to set the reports to email you regularly. You don't need to go into Google Analytics every single day to get your information. Set up all the stuff that matters most to you, get it in your inbox, check it out in the morning, see what's happening, and move on. If you see something that's really interesting or noteworthy, then you can go back in again and say, hey, this is really important. Or you can look at this email and say, hey, this is actually something that this person needs to know about, and forward it right over to them. You can customize this based on the day, like what day you want to go out, what format it goes out in. There's a lot that you can do here. So just set that up, get it going, and you won't have to do it again unless you're going to make changes to it. Let's say that the one report isn't enough. We can create our dashboards. I think you can get 12 widgets in each dashboard that are the things that matter most to the person who's looking at that one dashboard. I like creating dashboards for each group or each purpose for whoever's using them. So if we have one that's for our email marketing team, that's going to be totally different from our paid search team. There will be some overlap, but this is the stuff that matters for that organization specifically. This is one of Justin's dashboards, a social one. That link will get you you can download the entire dashboard yourself, but create your dashboards or find good ones that are online, apply them to your stuff, and start using them. And again, you can email it to yourself. You don't have to go in to get it every single time. Set up alerts. All right, I'm going to tell you a little story on this one. So this is Seer's Contact Us form. We had a problem a while ago. It was actually a pretty big problem because people use our contact form for, well, contacting us. Whether it's for paid search, analytics, SEO, content, whatever it is, if people want to use us for our services, they go through here, and we want them to do that. Once they fill out the form, we get an email, and the right people reach out to start that relationship and figure out how we can properly help out. We found after a little while that we weren't actually getting all the submissions. I think we found out from a potential client who I think gave up because we didn't reach back out. We're looking at each other like, that doesn't seem right. We always follow up. Started testing and realized that there was a version of a browser that just wasn't submitting it properly. The user thought they were applying. We thought that we were still getting other stuff, so it wasn't like it was totally flat. We just didn't know. Now that's a major problem, and it's been a problem for clients, and that was a problem for us too. So there needs to be something in place as a precaution to not let that happen. Because when you have a potential customer who wants to work with you and you're not even aware of it, something's majorly wrong there. So the answer to this for how we can, other than testing constantly and like going through making sure it works on everything, is a quick automated solution, setting up alerts in Google Analytics. So you can set these alerts whenever the site behavior changes. And it can be as detailed as you want it to be. You can set up dozens of alerts. Just make sure you're setting your sensitivity really high so that you know, that you're setting your sensitivity properly so that you know you're not getting a ton of alerts every day. Figure out what matters and set that up. That way every day you get an email saying, hey, this happened and you really should know this one thing happened on the site. So maybe you didn't get any of these forms coming through yesterday or they're lower for Chrome than they were previously. So just some quick sample alert recipes. Basic things like your bounce rate is greater than X%. Let's say your bounce rate is always around 60 to 65%. You might want to set it for 70 and just take a look when you get that alert. Visits are less than 1. Maybe your site went down or the code got dropped off the site. Just quick, easy things you can set up here. Looking at your goal conversions, increase or decrease by a number or by a percentage from the previous day or previous week. There's a lot that we can look at with this. It's whatever you can think of because there's so much flexibility in here. Action 7 is take credit for your marketing efforts. And this gets into tagging for Google Analytics using our UTM parameters. I'm not going to go into this in detail, but I did a Whiteboard Friday for this for Moz a few months ago. Again, that link is going to be at the end. You can watch this to see what I was talking through on it. I do want to give you some quick info on it, though. I'm talking specifically about why marketers should be adding these parameters to their links to track the things that they're doing. Google Analytics tries to understand where traffic comes from, and sometimes it gets it right, and we don't have to do anything. Sometimes it gets it horribly wrong and it all gets dumped into direct and we don't know where the traffic actually came from. Not calling out GA specifically here, I'm just talking analytics in general, but we do want to make sure we're tagging and giving the proper indicators so we can track as well as we can. Again, I'm not talking through how to tag, but there's a bundle of resources at the top here, bit.ly/how-to-tag. Has a ton of articles and resources. I think something from Justin, too, on how to tag. So check that out if you have some questions on that. And 2 quick tools for you. Google made you a URL builder. It concatenates everything for you. Just put your details in here, and it fills it all out. And there's a great Chrome plugin that I really like, where you can create a template for all of the tags that you want to use, and just keep applying it to new efforts that you're working on. Action 8, utilize real-time reports for testing. I think real-time analytics is pretty awesome. I could sit there with that going all day, but it's not really what people have a lot of time for. Instead, I'm talking here about using it to make sure whatever you're working on is working properly. So there's a lot that we can see in our real-time analytics data. We're just talking about our campaign tagging. We can go in here and see very quickly if it worked the way we wanted it to. If it worked, great, go ahead and push it out to your entire email marketing list. If it didn't, now you know, you can go back and revise it without pushing the message out. Same with your event tracking. We can now check that out and make sure it's working the way we want it to. Action 9 is going to probably upset a couple people, but don't focus on keywords. Now, I'm talking specifically about organic search keywords. Keywords for me are like pie charts for Tim. It's a very sore subject, so I'm sure we're going to get into that too. But here's the problem. Does this look familiar? Not provided is our #1 keyword with a giant chunk of the traffic. So I've seen people do a lot of things. I mean, I've done things at the very beginning when not provided started to figure out how to apply the numbers that we did have to the numbers that we did have to the numbers we didn't have. The problem is not provided takes a little bit of everything. It's not like it's all one group of keywords. You can't say, well, our #1 term was not provided, but #2 was definitely Seer interactive. It may have been, or we may have lost a giant chunk of Seer and we just didn't know about it. So don't focus on our organic search keywords because we just don't know. We lost that information for Google. If you want to look at it for Yahoo or Bing, go nuts, but who wants to look at that for Yahoo or Bing? Now what we can do though is focus on our landing pages. If we just pivot to add the landing page with not provided, we get all that information. We know what people are searching for if they land on the Screaming Frog guide, which if anyone hasn't read that, it's an amazing post. But all this stuff, like we know now what they're looking for, even if we don't know the exact term. All right, action 10, evaluate acquisition reports. Talking about evaluating all these different reports by behavior, not just by visits. So when we're looking at how the traffic got to the site, what source it was, what medium, the campaign, and again, our landing pages, all this different information, we want to look at that by how they behaved once they got there. So if they're all getting to the site and every person is leaving, and they're all, like every person from Facebook leaves, that tells us something about that traffic and if we're actually fulfilling the need that we're promising. If we're looking at traffic, that comes from another source and it's not converting ever, we may not be doing the right thing here. So that's why we want to keep looking at these acquisition reports and figure out what the behavior is, and if there's something we can do to the site to make it better to help convert those sales or convert those visitors. We always want to dig a little bit deeper, see what we can learn. Even if the traffic was higher for one thing, but we had a much higher conversion rate, we want to, for another, we want to look at the conversion rate for that other source. Watch your 404 pages. So I like setting up advanced segments and checking it out for all different traffic sources, especially for social. I think this is really important. These are people who are being driven to your site by all different efforts. So I have Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, a few others in here, and they're landing on pages that don't exist anymore, or that the URL was wrong. Look for these, watch them, get this report regularly, and make sure you're doing something to either redirect that traffic, put up a better 404 page, or otherwise capture that traffic better. Watch your browsers and devices, and we were talking about that earlier with the Seer form. We want to look at our conversion rates and our bounce rates by browsers and by devices. By browsers and by versions. Even within the same one browser, we may have a version that doesn't convert properly or that people can't use it properly. Same thing goes for devices. If we're looking at it and seeing that people are not converting on an iPhone, there's a lot of iPhone traffic out there. It's usually the top mobile device on a site, if not the iPad. So we want to keep an eye on that and see what's going on. We can also use browsers as indicators of bad traffic. If we're segmenting this way, if there's a bot driving a ton of really spammy traffic to your site, it's usually going to have the same different information about that they're coming in on. So it could be IE, the same version, same area. So keep an eye out for that information too. Action 13, get some help. So this idea came from Michelle, Michelle came out here from Boston, which I'm very happy to have her, and she's been tweeting the entire event. Michelle's idea here was actually really smart. That's that we don't all have the budget to hire someone to do this analysis for us, and we don't all have the time to do it ourselves. But there are interns out there who are dying for the opportunity to really get in and play with data. And all of us have all of this data we can play with across multiple analytics tools. So get them in and let them go nuts. Turn them loose on your data and watch the fun that ensues. If they can prove their value to you, go ahead and hire them. I mean, there's a great study that was done on the actual value of a good analysis. If you get good stuff, just keep using them or find a way to bring them on board. Action 14 is follow the money. And this applies to everything that we're talking about. There's a lot of money being spent on different marketing efforts that you're working on. Look at what you're doing and then figure out what how that effort is actually performing. So for everything we're talking about, you want to prioritize based on where your marketing dollars are going. If you're pouring most of your marketing dollars into paid search, you better be analyzing that really well and know how it performs compared to everything else. If you're not putting much into, Pinterest, you don't want to spend a lot of time on it unless you're seeing really good stuff coming out of it and then do more. Action 15 is kind of a step because we're talking about lack of time and lack of knowledge as being potential problems. So I want to talk about the community resources we all have available to us because there are a ton. And this part's for the marketers and for the analysts. First off, Google Analytics gives us a ton of information. There are all different help things that we can use. The first one is the Conversion University, where you can take your GAIQ for your individual qualification. Even if you don't want to take the test, this is a great way to just start watching all the different videos. And set aside a few minutes at the beginning of each day. The videos are like 7 minutes long. We have 7 minutes to watch and learn a little bit of something to learn more. And you can also do it like Nico and Caitlin did from our team and just sit down all night and crunch through it and take the test. But there are all different ways we can do it. GA also has a really great setup checklist. So if you want to make sure everything is set up properly, if you have someone who's going to do it for you, here's a list of all the stuff that you should be running through. You can just follow along. It has helpful links to everything you need to know, too. There's a great help section that has all different articles that get updated pretty regularly, actually, as well as the forum where if you go in and ask a question, people, and myself included, will all go jump in and try to help. And that's where I want to say something to the analysts, too. If you already have this stuff covered and you have 10 minutes here or there, jump back in and help somebody out. It's a great way to help someone else's education, help move them forward. Web Analytics Demystified does the Analysis Exchange, which I know is Tim's organization for today. This is another great organization. This is for people who are analysts, who are marketers, as well as nonprofit organizations. So if you're with a nonprofit and you want to get some free consulting, this is the way to do it. You put your project up there, a mentor will apply, so you get someone who's like already established and knows this industry really well and what they're doing. A student will apply, and they will do all this work for you for free and then present it to you. Like, there's no reason not to do this. On Twitter, we have a few hashtags. We have the Measure hashtag and Google Analytics hashtag. Jump in there, follow those. There's some useful stuff that happens. I mean, I use it all the time. I asked a question a while ago and got a ton of responses because the community really wants to help out and give back. In Philly, we have Web Analytics Demystified. We have our Web Analytics Wednesdays. So that happens pretty often. We have some great events, so come out for that. And then we also have our Philly DAA. We have the symposium coming up October 22nd. There's a great analytics community here in Philly. If you're not involved in it, this is a great way to start. Great lineup. Actually, Justin Cutroni is coming back out in October for this. So hoping we can see you all there. So the whole point for this for me is I want all of you to get involved. with the analytics community. So find out how you can jump in either here or in your area or online, wherever it is, to learn more and give back. And also with your own data, so you can get the insights, learn what's happening on your site, and make things better. As I promised, my slides are up there. I'll tweet that out as well, but that's everything. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you.